I have to say my name? No, right? I don't have to say I'm Kyle Mylan. I'm Kyle Mylan, and you need to watch my LinkedIn Lives because you're going to learn some shit, and sometimes I'm funny. Damn. Don't do what I say, just watch what I do and duplicate it. I haven't spent 22 years in manufacturing to not know what I'm talking about. You need to watch my content.
Kristen, Kyle, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for having us. Come on.
Just wrapping up our trip, 3 days. And the big takeaway here is I never travel any place just to see one person. So when you sales guys are out there traveling, you need to then try and find 1 or 2 or 3 other people to see.
The commodity manager of Electrolux wanted me to text her. That was her preferred method of contact. She was getting 200 emails a day. She said, just text me. This was 5 years ago. I'm like, okay. Literally could get her every time.
What's up, guys? Kyle Mylan here with Manufacturing Tribe TV. Today we're at MD&M Minneapolis show.
You're always going to remember that person that was different than everybody else. So let's talk standing out and being unique.
We're back with another episode. We've increased some of our production value, so hopefully you guys enjoy it. Brett's got a question. How segmented do you make the emails every 2 to 4 weeks? Are you sending to the broad group of contacts or do you customize? I think that you could do it both ways, but I think in general, everybody needs to see your content. Everybody needs to see something that you're creating and something that you can provide value to.
You can tell a story a whole lot faster in a 3-minute video than you can in a 14-page article or 10 2-page articles.
Everything's about brand awareness and content right now, and it will continue to be that. So focus on producing some sort of content, and if you're selling B2B, which I'm assuming most people here are, focus on LinkedIn.
Number one, we do not charge for this stuff. I put all of my content out there for free. Send it to somebody that you feel may get some value out of it, and also engage. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. We'll get to all of the comments after the break. Those comments mean the world to us because it shows that you guys care. So don't just sit there and watch, but please engage and hit those thumbs on LinkedIn.
What is up, guys? I'm Kyle Mylan, and we are back with our live content. We took a little bit of a break there for those of you that have followed us throughout this journey over the past 12 to 18 months. We went live a lot. We create a lot of content, and most of it lives over on our YouTube channel. But we're back. We've caught up with all of our videos that we've already shot. We got through the weeds with new clients and everybody that's signing up over at MFG Tribe. So I'm like, hey, you know what? It's time for us to go back live twice a week. So today is Wednesday's show. For those of you that are new to the content, on Wednesday's show, we talk about industrial marketing and technical sales. Depends on the topic. Sometimes we hit both of your job functions in one. Monday's show is Ask Kyle. That's where you guys send over questions to askkyle@mfgtribe.com, and we're there to answer them on Monday's show. As always, guys, leave your comments in the comment section, and we will get to them throughout the show. If we didn't get to one of your comments and a question that you have, regardless if it's about the topic that we're talking about or not, we can always pull those into next week's show on Monday. We're back to the schedule of Mondays and Wednesdays at noon Central Standard Time. Be on the lookout for those notifications on LinkedIn. Go to the YouTube channel. If you're new to this content, go to the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. We've probably got over 350, 400 videos on there, and it's all about industrial marketing and technical sales. Is that a good intro, Laura? Are we back? I feel like I just dusted off the cobwebs on doing these lives. Also, something new that we're going to start doing. We've already done 2 of them, but on Thursdays we're going to be doing interviews with key people at industrial companies, where it's talking shop. It's less of a formal, here's a question, give me your answer. Here's a question, give me your answer. It's more of just general conversation about what's going on with that company, what types of things are they seeing in manufacturing. Those are going to be on Thursdays. So stay tuned because we got a couple of heavy hitters on the lineup over the next 30 days that are going to be on that show. So without further ado, we'll jump into it. Today's topic is how to blow up your Q4. Guys, give me some likes on LinkedIn. Hit those blue thumbs to make sure that you guys are seeing and hearing this clearly, to make sure our feed is good to go. But let's talk about blowing up your Q4. So Q4, I've been in industrial for 22 years. That's all that I know. And so a lot of times what happens is people get into Q4, and sales and marketing people the same can become a little bit complacent. Like you're just trying to ride the waves throughout the beginning part of the year. To get through Q4, you've got multiple breaks with Thanksgiving. A lot of you guys are shutting down for the week and a half between Christmas and New Year's. And it's like, all right, I just want to get through this year. It wasn't a great year for some of you guys, and you want to get through it. And I'm going to set goals starting January 1st. And I'm here to tell you that that strategy and that tactic does not need to work like that. You can still look at Q4 on a quarterly basis. This still can be your biggest year, but you have to have a strategy and be able to execute it on a consistent basis. Otherwise, you're going to look up and it's going to be after Thanksgiving. You're like, shoot, I should have done this. I should have done that. You don't want to be living with regret. So from the first point, Sam, the first thing you want to look at is be realistic and understand that the year is not over yet. You still have 3 months left. A lot of activity can happen. If you're selling industrial services, you still can get suppliers to add you as a vendor. You still can pitch to people. They might be planning for their 2023 budget. That does not mean that that ship has sailed. They may be looking for a solution right now. So don't just think everybody I talk to now is going to be looking at 2023. You may be even thinking like, well, Kyle doesn't know my industry. And in my industry, stuff takes time. Yes, I know. I've been in those industries before where the sales process, the marketing process could take 6, 12, 18, 24 months to close somebody, but you never know. So don't make that assumption and look at it from the standpoint, the next call you make, the next email you send, the next trade show you go to, the next meeting that you have, that person may be looking to add you as a supplier, add you as a vendor, give a shot at your solution to their problem right now, next week, in 20 days. Have to look at it from that standpoint. With that being said, you also have to look at it from the standpoint that you're planning for the 2023. Instead of waiting until 2023 to start this onslaught of activity and really start boosting it up, you may be able to do things now that January 6th, January 8th, you've got a new client. So you have to look at it as this is not time to slow down. If anything, for most of you guys out there, this is time to speed it up, kick it into overdrive, and really push as hard as possible in Q4, because that is going to set the tone for the next 12 months. Even if you're like, my next 12 months, like we're booked, our facility is booked at capacity for next year, plan for 2024. It's all about building those relationships, establishing that trust. So Q4 is extremely important from that standpoint. The next topic we're going to talk about is your goals and measuring those goals. What are your goals? What were your goals for the year? Were they a little bit weak? Were you being a little bit reasonable with your goals, or were you setting lofty goals? Like I always tell people, like your goals should scare people. You should not say, I want to close $1 million of business. If that's easy for you to do, your goal should be, I want to close $10 million of business in this year. So you have to look at where are you at with the goals that you've set. If you've already reached your goals and your goals were weak, and you need to increase your goals. So first, get realistic about where you're at so far this year with those goals, and then how are you measuring that? So if your goals are massive, are you measuring it on just strictly a closed deal basis? Are you getting granular with your measurement and saying, all right, my goals as a year was to close $5 million worth of business. People in marketing are like, my goal as a year was to bring in 265 inbound leads. But are you tracking it and measuring it on a weekly, monthly, daily basis? Or are you just looking at it from a quarterly, annual standpoint? The thing with lofty goals is that you want to try and break it down into simplistic terms as far as look at it over a year, break it down to a month, break it down to a week, and then look at it from a daily standpoint, right? All of you know the activity that you have to do to generate these sales goals, generate the marketing activity to get those revenue numbers where you want them to be. But are you measuring it on such a granular basis that you're holding yourself or your team accountable to it? So you can say, I've got this much annual revenue that I'm trying to hit, which means this much per month. How much activity do I have to do in order to reach those? And if you're like, oh, I don't know, like I've never tracked that data, we don't have a system, whatever, you can take a good guess. You can guess that if you talk to 100 people, how many people are going to ask you for a quote? If you pitch to 20 people, how many people are going to say, you know what, I want to see a demo. I want to have a meeting. I want to see a quote on that. And then from all those quotes that you do, you know, if I do X amount of quotes, if I send 10 quotes, how many clients can I close? So you have to break it down from a simplistic math standpoint of, if I need to talk to 100 people to get 2 quotes out and I'm closing 50%, well, that's 1 client per 100 people you talk to. And this is not going to be an exact formula, but for the most part, if you talk to 200 people, there's a high likelihood that you should be able to close 2 clients from that. So that's how you figure out your weekly strategy, is by working backwards from what you have seen has worked. Now, your tactics and your strategies of what you're setting for your goals may not be correct. You may be saying, I'm only doing phone calls, or from a marketing standpoint, I'm only setting up campaigns and workflows and automation to this specific group, and I'm not hyper focused, or I'm not doing email marketing, but I'm doing trade shows. Like, you have to look and be realistic on what's working, because if something's not working very well, then you need to add other areas into the funnel to be able to say, I want to start doing trade shows. Do a trade show, measure it. Was it successful? Are you getting the ROI even on an activity standpoint? And then from there, determine if you want to do more. But if you do something and it's really not working, or if you've been doing something, you're like, I'm not really seeing the ROI on this. Number one, it could be the way that you're executing the strategy. Maybe there's just some kinks in there to where you can make it smoother. Or number two, that strategy is just not going to work. We set up our strategies with our clients all the time. We break it into key strategic ways of saying, we have to do stuff with the website. We have to send out email marketing. We have to create content. We have to push people on social. We have to create videos. Those are all tactics, but it's all about how you execute it and how everything comes together. But as you're doing these things, you have to measure, was that successful? Don't look at it on a quarterly basis. Look at it on a weekly or even a daily basis. So that brings us into the next topic, where we're going to talk about weekly activity. What should your weekly activity be like? You sales guys out there, I'm going to hit you hard with some weekly activity, because I expect extremely highly and high engagement out of you guys, because I did this for a decade. So I know what works. We train salespeople every day. I was literally just on a call with a sales team going through how they need to pitch their product, how they need to demo their stuff, and teaching them the types of activity that you need to do in order to get to the end result. So from a weekly activity standpoint, you guys may disagree with me and say this isn't going to work, but I'm here to tell you that it will in any of your industrial industries. Number one, you have to be making phone calls. Phone calls suck. Cold calls suck. Follow-up calls suck. You're not going to get an answer or response most of the time, but it is a necessary evil. If you're ambitious, go after doing 500 cold calls a week. And you may be looking at it like, dude, 500 cold calls a week, that is crazy. It really isn't. And we've got a video that we're going to be publishing on YouTube in the next week or two. So definitely subscribe to that channel, where I spent like 55 minutes, under 60 minutes, and I made 35 cold calls in under 60 minutes. And out of those cold calls that I did, I got a lot of voicemails. I got people that said, we're not interested. But I did have a conversation with somebody for about 15 minutes that resulted into an opportunity. If you think that I'm too high on my horse to do it, I will do it every day if I have the time. I have no issue making cold calls. You guys shouldn't either. Go into it knowing that if I make 100 phone calls, I am not going to talk to 65 people. You're going to be leaving 65 voicemails to maybe talk to 20, 10, maybe 5 people out of 100, but it's all about that rinse and repeat activity. So you have to set your weekly activity to be 500. It should only take you roughly about 2 hours or so. If you're having in-depth conversations with people within those first 100 calls that you make in a day, maybe it takes you 3.5 hours to do those cold calls. And maybe you want to set that goal back to from 500 to 250, but you got to start somewhere. The other side of it is you have to be paying attention on LinkedIn. You have to be building your network, sending out hundreds of messages a week if you have the network to support it, sending out connection requests to people, hitting that limit, building your network, boosting your personal brand, boosting your company brand. You have to be doing it on a daily basis. Now, I have a video back earlier this year where I laid out exactly this is how much time you should spend on each thing. So you guys can go to the YouTube channel and check that out. But you have to look at everything from a weekly standpoint. Break it down weekly. Cold calls, emails, LinkedIn messages. You may say, oh, I'm not in marketing, so I'm not going to be doing emails myself. No, you should. If you have a CRM system and you have contacts assigned to you, whether it's Salesforce or HubSpot or however automated or aren't you are, whether it's even an Excel spreadsheet, you need to be reaching out to these people on a weekly basis, work them through the list, just go down your list, reach out to them. Next week, go on to the next section on the list, so on and so forth, until you recycle back and go back to those first people. But you have to be doing it on a weekly basis. For the marketing people out there, industrial marketers, break again everything down. It's no different. Just because you're in marketing doesn't mean that you don't have to look at things on a weekly basis. How many emails and how many people are you reaching out to this week? What videos are you posting? What content are you posting this week? How many things on social were you posting this week? You should be posting every single day. You should either have a marketing agency like MFG Tribe doing a lot of that activity for you, or if you're doing it in-house, you need to be doing it on a weekly basis, because your whole job is to build brand awareness and inbound activity, ideally for the salespeople to then come and close. So both sides of sales and marketing have to work closely together. Ideally, the person in charge understands that, especially in some of these manufacturing and industrial services company. That's one boss in charge of sales and marketing, but you have to take both sides of it, break it down to a weekly basis and say, this is the goals on a weekly basis. But the key is you have to track them and then hold people accountable if they're not hitting those goals. It seems super simple, but so often industrial companies are not following these simple practices. You end up getting delayed in things, or things don't happen as quick as you want them to happen. And you say, we'll do that monthly, we'll do that quarterly, we'll look at this as a review as a department on a monthly basis. But if you have the resources, or if you have a team working for you, or if you have an outside agency looking at things from a weekly basis to be able to track and measure and then make adjustments to your strategy, is the most effective way to do it. The next thing we're going to talk about is tracking and measuring everything. So if you have a CRM system, hopefully you do. If you don't, there are cheap solutions that you can put into place. You can go to HubSpot right now and get a basic starter package for like 25 to 50 bucks a month. It's super affordable. If you want to use the other systems like Zoho or Salesforce or things like that, it's really a small price to pay to be able to track and measure. And so how can you possibly know if something's working if you're not tracking the data, right? You're just relying on your memory. So if I've got a salesperson that's making 100 calls a week or 100 calls a day, and I ask them, how is it working? And they say, well, I really don't like it, but I've talked to a few people. Few is a relative term. Few meaning what? Like 3 or like 13? And so if you don't have a system to track that, then there's no way for you to hold those people accountable. If you can't do an email marketing campaign and track the opens and track the clicks and break it down to a contact level, then you don't know if it's super effective. It's no different than if you look at the marketing people looking at your Google Analytics and saying, I've got all this traffic, but is it good traffic or bad traffic? Are they going to the right places on your website? Are they engaging? Are they booking time to talk with you? Are they filling out RFQ forms? Things like that. You have to be able to track it, because how are you going to possibly know if things are working if you're not tracking the data behind it? So don't get stuck in it from the standpoint of like, we're using this system, the data's outdated, it's Q4, we're going to start a new system next year. Don't look at it from that standpoint. Don't look at Q4 as kind of like the segue into Q1 of next year, and I'm just going to ride the waves until we get into Q1. And it's just like, from a personal standpoint, you want to diet, you want to start working out, you want to change something in your personal life, instead of waiting for the future 3 months from now, make the change today. And you can say, all right, we're going to put in a new system in January of next year, because that's when my budget will allow me to do it. But in the meantime, for the next 3 months, I'm going to clean up all of the data in my existing system here, so I'm not importing dirty data into the new system. So there's lots of things that you can do in Q4, and don't even look at it from a standpoint where I don't want to market anymore to these people. You can say, I'm going to clean up this data, and I've got 10,000 contacts, but when I really break it down from a marketing standpoint, only 1,500 or 1,000 of them are actually active on a monthly or quarterly basis. So I'm going to talk to those people now. I'm going to send them those strategic people content now, while I clean up the other 9,000 or 8,500 before I bring them into the new system. That doesn't mean that you have to stop. And when you're marketing these people, it's not like, oh, I'm going to send them something for Halloween and for Thanksgiving and for Christmas. I mean, really market to them, provide them with some sort of value, send them some content that you have, do a webinar, do a live, go live on LinkedIn, do something now in Q4 that you haven't done before, and make the change immediate, so that way you can try and boost up some activity and give you that momentum going into Q1 of next year instead of starting that momentum at that point. So we're going to take a quick break and answer any comments, questions you guys have. Leave them in the section below. We'll be back in about, 60, 90 seconds or so to go through those and see what you guys have to say.
As a manufacturing company, probably the first thing that you notice when you implement LobbyFox is the absence of the confusion that exists when visitors come to check in, like where's the clipboard and who can find Tom to do this tour and does anyone know where they are? And so with LobbyFox, that's the first thing that you observe is this confusion is gone. After visiting as many manufacturing facilities as we have at LobbyFox, we see a series of patterns and we understand your problem. What people need to see, what people need to sign off on, how people need to be instructed to operate through the facility. And these are records and documents that just absolutely cannot be lost, and there's huge consequences for losing them. What we did is we automated those patterns, and you can provide those records to a regulatory agency with a snap of a finger.
We really strive to meet people where they are at LobbyFox. If you want to run a full DIY kiosk, you're very tech savvy, we'll get out of your way. But if you don't want another system to learn, we will offer that white glove service for you.
If you're going to walk through a field of landmines, you don't need a doctor. You need someone that knows how to avoid landmines.
The people that answer the phone are people who work here. We work on this software every day. We are directly involved in building this software, in operating the software. Customer service isn't a feature in a package. It's a benefit that every one of our customers receives.
LobbyFox is the only visitor management system that solves those extremely unique challenges that manufacturers face.
All right, we're back. We've got some comments in the comment section. Laura, Nancy, are you blocking Laura's
Nancy's
camera?
here too, yeah.
Nancy's here too. Laura, go for the questions. Let's hear them, or comments.
Let's see. Nathan's in here. He says, Kyle's back.
What's up, Nathan? I appreciate you coming back and joining us.
And then we have from Shane Grant, Q4 will be our biggest of the year. We are pushing hard to achieve another record year of sales. He also said, we're looking to have automation in place in Q4 so we can establish a strong start for 2023.
And who was that from?
Shane Grant.
Shane, that's the exact type of attitude you need to have, man. So I appreciate you saying that out loud and putting in the comment section, because more people need to have that, like, dude, even if your Q4 is not your biggest year yet, just say to yourself, Q4 is going to be my biggest year. I'm going to close so many deals in Q4, and hype yourself up and tell everybody at your company, dude, I'm going to crush Q4. You may not see it yet, but just wait and see. Q4 is going to be my biggest year, my biggest month of the year, my biggest quarter, whatever it is.
And then we have a couple of comments in here from Patrick. He says, we have found there are clients that want to unload or finish off their budget before the end of the year. Simply put, they want to spend money.
Yeah, that's right, Patrick. Some people do want to do that.
He also said, I have an amazing business development executive that loves to cold call. Although we're setting him up for success through current clients and positioning LinkedIn through attraction marketing with Kyle to increase that greatly, 1 to 3%.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, Patrick's a client of ours, and he could attest to the type of interaction that him and his team have directly with us and the training that we provide strictly from a sales standpoint to help his team out.
And Jessica's in here again too. She says, cold calls have a 1 to 3% success rate according to Google.
Jessica who?
She's been in here a few times, yeah.
Jessica Wilbur. So yeah, don't believe Google, like, at all. Because, like, let me ask you this question, Jessica. If you Google search how many people are successful in starting their own business, and knowing that past 5 years, it's what, 2% of people are successful, then a lot of times people turn to Google for the answer, and then they're like, you know what? I don't want to do this. So don't believe Google from that standpoint. You have, like, that's an industry wide. And so that's taking everything from cold calls for Medicaid and Medicare and doing cold calls for everything in between. I can attest to it. I did it myself, and we have clients doing it where we track it. At the low end, you'll see about 8% of the time somebody actually answers the phone. But on the high side, we just tracked Greta, our business development manager, and she talked to, I think it was 33% of her calls she talked to somebody and she got opportunities from those calls. So it's all about timing in industrial. You can call somebody today and they say no. You can call them tomorrow and they say yes. So it's all about timing. So you have to put in the work, but I would not believe Google statistics on that.
We have Cynthia in here. She says, cold calling is tough, but it could open a lot of doors. Most people are not comfortable cold calling from what I've seen.
Yeah, cold calling is tough. And I feel like we should do a whole video, a live maybe next week or the next couple of weeks about cold calling. I've made thousands of calls myself. We write scripts for our clients. I just did cold calls a couple of weeks ago. We got Alex that did some cold calls, and it is tough. It is, it can knock the wind out of your sails when you're calling and just leaving voicemail after voicemail after voicemail. But if you flip the switch in your mind a little bit and change the goals that you're trying to have, and really break it down to a very simple practice of I'm trying to go from step 1 in my sales process pipeline to step 2, and you're just aggressively trying to do that, and you're going to have to make 40 phone calls before you talk to somebody, that's perfectly fine. And also from a script standpoint, a lot of times people are leaving long voicemails or their pitch on the phone is not polished enough. But I can tell you that with a good script, with practice and repetitiveness and having the tools at your disposal to do these things quickly, cold calling can be extremely successful.
We actually have like a lot of comments today. Cynthia also says, attending industry events and really working the crowd works too. Networking is invaluable.
Yes, 100% agree, Cynthia. As trade shows are coming back, a lot of people are going back to them because they missed them for a couple of years. It can work as well. I feel like everything works, right? So do cold calls work? Yes. But what are your expectations of it? Are you expecting to close 10 deals out of 100 calls from it? Then those are the wrong expectations to have. Do trade shows work? Yes. But what are the expectations? It's not 2006 when we used to do trade shows in industrial where you get 40, 50, 60 high quality good leads. It's 2022, so it's a little bit different. Does snail mail work? Sending postcards? Yes, it does. Everything still works, and you need to be doing a little bit of everything all at the same time. But just go into it with the expectations like the trade show today is different than it was 10 years ago. So I'm going to market a little bit different. I'm going to pitch a little bit different. I'm going to expect a little bit different results, but you have to be looking at every single possible avenue for sales, lead generation, and for marketing.
All right, looks like someone named Wellington says, great video, thanks for sharing. And he gives a big hug from Brazil.
All right, Wellington, I appreciate that, man.
And then Shane, it's still on. Shane Grant also says, we're in year 7 of business. It has been very challenging, but we continue to push forward and build our team and network. Manufacturing is a very tough business to be successful in, but it's also been very rewarding.
Yeah, we're in year 7 too. And there are plenty of times where the ups and downs of industrial have gotten me to be like, dude, should I just quit this and just go get a job working for somebody? But keeping and pushing through it, those are the things that are going to separate those that are extremely successful and those that only experience a little bit of success. And Laura's got her hands up, so that means that that's all of the questions or comments. If you guys have any last minute questions, throw them in there. There is a slight 20 to 30 second delay from when you hear this to when we're actually saying it. So we'll start wrapping up. But before we do the outro and close this up, guys, go to YouTube. If you like this content, if you like this engagement, all of our videos get posted on YouTube. This live show is on YouTube right now. We're going to break it down to where we cut it into a more condensed version and publish that up to YouTube. So go check it out. All of our short videos, we got videos that are 60 seconds long. They get posted on LinkedIn. If we're not connected, send me a connection request. And as long as you're relevant to the industry, I will accept it. You can go to YouTube and watch all of the short content there, 60-second videos, and burn through it. We also have, for you salespeople out there, if you're looking to boost up your sales skills, we have Technical Sales University, which is an online cloud-based platform where you guys can have access to 8 hours of video content that is instructed by me in front of a white screen, where I walk through specific things like how do you pitch, how do you prospect, doing cold calls, all of that. and you can get access to that by going to technicalsalesu.com. Or if you want a link, then you can just shoot me a message. Laura's grinning over there. So is there something good to share?
Oh, I was just noticing that one of our live show banners has a really silly typo in it.
Oh, we've got typos because we're not perfect. And you don't need to be perfect because like too often people get stuck in the details of like, I'm trying to make this perfect. It's all about volume, right? It's all about volume of trying to create omnipresence, which is being everywhere all at the same time. So from a marketing standpoint, it's all about how much content are you pushing out without annoying people and getting them to block you or unsubscribe. From a sales standpoint, it's all about how many people have heard your voice, how many people have seen you on LinkedIn, seen your videos, gotten your emails, gotten your voicemails, seen you at a trade show or whatever it is. It just makes it a more warm and easier conversation. If you call somebody and say, hey, this is Joe from this company, they're like, you know what? Yeah, I have seen your stuff online. What's up? It's just a more conversational type of thing instead of a sales pitch, which you never want to try and do. You want to go into it from the standpoint of, hopefully you have a problem that I can solve. So with your problem, I can develop a solution and provide it to you. Time for closing out, Laura.
I was just going to say, good thing we did a last call for questions because Cynthia would like you to let her know what the average good length of a voicemail should be when cold calling.
Perfect. Under 20 seconds is how long your voicemail should be. So one of our scripts that we use would be like this. Hey, Cynthia, this is Kyle from Manufacturing Tribe, an industrial sales and marketing company. If you could give me a call back on my cell phone when you get a chance, leave the number. Thanks. Bye. I could say that in probably under 12 seconds, 13 seconds. I mean, we time it, but under 20 is fine for one of our clients that we did the training for. One of the options, which is a little bit longer, was under 16 seconds. One of them was under 10 seconds. But with your cadence and the way you speak, write out the script, make it super simple. You don't need to go into the pitch. Super simple script, say it, put a timer on your phone, repeat, look at yourself in the mirror when you're doing it to make sure that you're smiling, to make sure that you're active, all those things, and then just practice it to where it just rolls off your tongue. But under 20 seconds is the best way to do it. And we will cover more on that in the cold calling show, which we'll do. Nancy's going to be in charge of putting that up on the calendar and writing everything down for how we're going to do that show. So without cutting you guys off short, go to the YouTube channel, subscribe to it, please. Look at all the video content we have on there. If you guys are interested in partnering with us, if you're interested in us doing the sales training for you, if you're us doing your marketing for you, you can go to mfgtribe.com, check it out, book a discovery call with us. We will tell you exactly what you need to do from a marketing standpoint to reach the goals that you have. And stay tuned for all of our lives that are coming back twice a week, Mondays at noon Central Standard Time, Wednesdays at noon, and we will see you on the next one.